teachers. I don't know about yous lot, but I don't like them. And they don't like me. They never have. I never got on with teachers. They hated me. I was listening to a podcast the other day. I was making this Theo Von video. And it was Jordan Peterson and Theo Von. They were talking. And they were talking about young men and encouragement. And so Jordan Peterson was kind of making the point that these days young men are often not really praised. So like growing up, they don't often get people saying, "You're really good, you're sick, you're great, just being who you are, you're really good." A lot of men don't hear that. And I'd never thought about that, but like on a personal level, I never thought about that. Did I receive a lot of praise growing up? And I thought about it, and I realised from my parents I received a lot of praise, or enough praise. I didn't feel underpraised. You know, I felt good, right? I noticed I received that from my parents, but I noticed I don't think I ever received it from school and teachers, specifically teachers. And we'll get on to why it's important in a second. But I received it from my parents, but I think I remember, and this is one of them ones, I'm fucking 28 now, so who knows what I was thinking as a kid, but I seem to vaguely recall, if my parents complimented me or said something cool about me, that's great, but you know, it's a little bit biased. They have a sort of vested interest in my prosperity. I'm not knocking them, I'm not saying they're liars, but, you know, it's unlikely they're going to say, "Yeah, Jimmy, you're a piece of shit, you suck at everything." Now, I know some people's parents might have spoke to him like that, but my parents didn't, and a lot of the parents I knew didn't really speak to their kids like that. They were genuinely supportive. But an important thing isn't just encouragement from your parents. It's a massive thing, but you need encouragement from other people. You need it from people around you, your friends, and your teachers. And so I went on to think about it. I really don't recall receiving any praise from teachers. So when it came to like a young person, me being like, am I interested, or can I be a person who can achieve something? I think as a young person I probably didn't, but there was one teacher. Okay? There was one teacher who did. And when I was listening to this Theo Von podcast, it made me think about this one teacher. I often think about this teacher a lot. And I've been trying. He was an old boy, right? He was like fucking, I'm gonna guess he was pretty fucking old. I think he was probably 60s, 70s when he was my teacher. That was 15 plus years ago. I reckon he's dead. I'm gonna say it. I don't want to put that out there. I'm not asking for him to be dead, but I think that there's a 27% chance he's dead. I would love to write a letter to him and just thank him, but probably can't because I don't know the address to heaven. I don't know if he's alive. Yeah. Anyway, that isn't the point I'm trying to make here. The point is that, on reflection, this teacher, and I'm going to talk through what he did for me as a person, and why I'm so thankful for him. I'll say his name, in fact, Mr. Jackson. I'm sure you're not going to get doxxed. This channel gets like 5,000 views, so I don't think he's going to have a problem with that. So, when I was in public schools and all this sort of thing, my teachers would often see me as just a troublemaker. That was kind of it. My impression I got from teachers was that I was someone who liked dicking around a lot. I liked fucking around, joking, and I wasn't focused on work. So none of them really went to me and were like, "Oh, you're Jimmy, you're like interested in art, or you're interested in politics, or talking, or whatever." They wouldn't say anything like that. It was always, "You're not interested in doing maths." That was it. So I kind of got this impression from all of the teachers around me that I was just a disturbance, a nuisance, and I wasn't told to feel skillful. And I really, genuinely don't think I was ever given that kind of feedback. And I was kind of always sort of told I was naughty as well, like I was a bad kid. And I'm going to be honest, I wasn't a fucking bad kid. I would have my one yearly fuck up. My parents were talking about this recently, but I just had a yearly fuck up. That was pretty much it. I would do something bad every year. I would I'll give you some examples. One year I jumped on I jumped on a froob, which is a strip of yogurt in a tube. I jumped on a froob and it went up some girl's trousers or skirt, and I got an after-school detention. I got many an after-school detention. I once kicked a locker, not because I was angry, which they kept trying to tell me, but because I wanted to close it with my foot, and I'm an incredibly strong human being of God-given strength and might, and my foot broke anyway, I digress. And so I had this impression that was how I was. And then I went to this one school, and I had this one lesson. This lesson being art, and the teacher being Mr. Jackson. And so there was something instantly different about the way he taught. It was an art class. I was always pretty good at art. I could always just draw some shit. And so they would give us like an assignment. It'd be, draw, I don't know, draw a plant. And so I'd draw the plant. And I'd do it with a little smiley face and, whatever. But what was interesting about Mr. Jackson is the classes was really small, right? It was like 8 people. And he would focus on me because I would talk a lot. I would talk a lot, right? That was my problem. I was always getting kicked out of class for chatting shit. And he would focus on me. And instead of telling me to stop talking, he would engage with what I was talking about, right? So I might be talking to my mate next to me about a video game. I might be talking about RuneScape. I might be saying I'm grinding out, get a 99 cape. Never did get it. But that might be what I'm talking about. And he would hear that and he would be like, what's RuneScape? And I'd be like, RuneScape. Like, imagine, right? This is the first time a teacher has shown interest in something I have to say. And so I was like, probably at first a bit like, it's just a video game. And he was like, tell me about it. And so I probably told him about it. And he would do this about lots of things, right? So it'd start with things that I was probably talking to other people. But then I realised Mr. Jackson cares about what I have to say. And he will add to it. So say I'm like, I don't know, I would really go quite broad. My interests were quite broad, and Mr. Jackson helped me discover that. Probably at the time I was just playing video games, just doing shit like that. But he started to make me realise that actually it isn't just that I'm interested in. I'm interested in history, politics, food, I don't know, fucking everything. I'm interested in lots of things. And so he would do this, right? He would grab these National Geographic books, and they were part of the art class because we would take images from them, work on those images, because good photography. And he'd put it in front of me and be like, look at this. This is cool. And it'd be like a picture of Mars being terraformed. And he'd be like, did you know that is a thing that scientists think is possible? What do you think about that, Jimmy? And so I'd say, I don't know. Is that possible? Like, how would it work? Would you need to breathe? Would you change the air? And we'd have this fucking long conversation. And so what ended up happening was me and Mr. Jackson, genuinely, throughout lessons, would just have these endless conversations. And so I started to think that I was actually a person with lots of interests. He would help me delve into these different interests, and I genuinely feel the ripples of what he would do to my brain, because I never really had anyone who would talk like that with me. My parents a bit, for sure, but like in school, teachers, I never had that. And it was like, I could just have these long fucking conversations about anything, and, I'd do my work. I'd probably do my work better because I was like drawing about the shit we're talking about. And I did well in art. And he helped me really discover how my brain works when it comes to thinking and organising thoughts around these topics. He was just an art teacher. He wasn't a geography teacher. He wasn't a politics teacher. He was just art. But what he taught me is what I believe schools should be. They should be these places where you look at individual kids, assess what they're into, assess how their brains work, and help them learn themselves. It ain't about fucking learning how to, sum up some maths or whatever. I still can't do that shit. But it's about working out what they can do. If that's the thing that they love, if they love adding up numbers, then great, let's feed them numbers. Young calculator. But if they're not into that, if they're into something else, feed them that wisdom. And it was amazing. It was amazing what that man taught me. I honestly look back on his, I often think about it, about his influence on how I thought. And the feeling, to relate back to that podcast clip, was that he gave me courage in my ability to think. I didn't feel self-conscious about thinking about things that I was interested in. Sometimes if you're the type of person who was like, I'm really interested in politics, and your friends are just talking about, I don't know, football, you're kind of sidelined a bit because you're like, well, you're not really fitting into that conversation. And so you suppress that part of your characteristics, your part of your personality who's interested in that thing, because no one else seems to be. But a great teacher can spot the things that make you unique and help build on that and put it in useful directions. It never felt like he was just chatting shit for the sake of it. It always felt like he was trying to help me think better. And out of that whole, I went to a private school, right, for that. And that was an expensive school, fairly expensive. And all of that money, had I not come across that teacher, in my opinion, would have been wasted. It wouldn't have been spent right, because all I would have done was got a shitty education. I would have got how I would have done in public school. But finding that one teacher made that whole experience worth it. Like, I don't know really if I'm trying to give you advice or something, but I'm just trying to say, like, I really do analyze the power of a good teacher. And if there's anything that when I eventually have kids, I want to do is really try and engage them on the things they find interesting. And when it comes to schooling, I don't know, I'm going to be an annoying parent, but I'm going to be analysing these teachers and trying to work out if they're actually uniquely interesting as themselves, or are they just sort of, writing, marking papers. It's something I think about. Teachers are incredibly powerful. If you know someone who's trying to be a teacher, I was talking to my friends, my friend's girlfriend wants to be a teacher. I have endless respect for them. If they can do it well, they can be the most important influence on a child. A person who isn't their parent, who doesn't have any reason to really care about them, caring about them. It's a powerful thing. Bow.